Good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Is it loud enough? Too loud? I can adjust the mic. We're set? Okay, cool. So, major products. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how bases and sauce mixes can help during tough labor. You know, with everything going on right now, we got to find a way to have quality ingredients, quality food on our menu, but not necessarily have as much labor as we used to have pre-COVID. So, a lot of what I'm going to talk about is how we can utilize our products, make some simple dishes. So most of today is going to be focused on our cream soup base mix. I'm going to show you 2 dishes on that, how we can put 4 to 5 ingredients in and we can make a couple different dishes. Hopefully then you can convert those into recipe ideas for you. So I'm going to get some things started because I got them cooking, and then I'm going to explain a lot of stuff as we're going. So the first dish I'm going to show you is chicken pot pie filling. We have some samples here, and if you want to try samples, we're also in booth 125. So we're going to start for the chicken pot pie filling. We're going to get our pan hot. We're going to add just a dash of oil on the bottom just so it doesn't stick. Let that heat up. And we're going to start with diced chicken. So I'm using chicken tenders. You can use breast, you can use thighs, you can use whatever you're looking for. But I just diced up some chicken tenders. We're going to put that in the bottom of the pan. Get that cooking, and then you want to add a seasoning. You want to be careful. Since we're going to utilize some chicken and mirepoix base in here, you don't want to add a lot of salt. I don't know if they're here, but I use Paul Perdome's Chef Magic, primarily because Chef Paul was a friend of mine prior to passing. So I think this is a great one without a lot of salt. But you want to use some kind of seasoning, but again, not a lot of salt, because we're going to let the salt come through our chicken and mirepoix base. So we're going to season our chicken. Even if you just want to use garlic, pepper, you know, something along that lines, that's fine. Whatever you're looking for in your pot pie. This pan, don't set your towels on fire. This pan's a little bit small, sorry. I was back there cooking in the gallon pot earlier, so. All right. So we're gonna let that chicken cook for a second, like I said. So I'm gonna do a little more talking. The cream soup base. Most people think of this as white soup. So you know, a lot of people are bringing this in and they're making their clam chowders, they're making their potato soup, cream of broccoli, anything along that lines. This is originally designed as a replacement for cream of chicken, cream of celery, cream of mushroom, and to make those soups. As we've grown throughout the years, chefs do a lot more stuff with it. So what you gotta do is open up your minds and realize that this is a replacement for butter, flour, and milk. So anything you were putting butter, flour, and milk in as a thickener, or butter, flour, and water, but you wanted it to be a little bit creamier, this is a way to offset that. So what we do is we get our chicken here. We're pretty close. So now we're gonna add our water. And that is the biggest difference between us and some of the competition. We're gonna add our water, and to the water we're gonna do, so it's 1 teaspoon per 1 cup of base. But since we're doing a quart here, it's going to be one tablespoon. And since I'm adding other flavors, I want this to be a little strong. So I'm actually going to do a tablespoon of the mirepoix base and a tablespoon of the chicken base. That's why I want you to use a low salt seasoning on your chicken, because we're going to have plenty of seasoning, salt seasoning coming from the bases. And then we also have our chicken base going in here. And the reason I'm doing this to take a little bit of extra time is what I started to say is we want you to add the powders to hot water. So not cold water out of the tap and not boiling water. So that's why I have a couple seconds while we're talking here to mix this up. So we got our chicken. I added the chicken base, our mirepoix base. And now that our water is nice and warm, we don't want it hot, we don't want it boiling. That's when you see lumps. So if you're seeing lumps, it's because you're adding to boiling water. So we're gonna mix in our cream, making a mess. We're gonna mix in our cream soup base mix here. Turn up our heat all the way. There we go. We're gonna bring this to a boil, and then it's ready to go. If you wanna add some thyme, oregano, any other dry or fresh spices, you can do that now. I'll throw a little bit of thyme in here. The product that I gave you, I did not add the thyme. I didn't do the fresh herbs. So the product that you sampled was just the first 5 ingredients. The chicken, the poultry magic, chicken base, mirepoix base, cream soup base, and water. And then we did a little puff pastry crouton on top. Hopefully you guys like that. If you are doing pot pie and you're like, yeah, James, I don't have a way to do puff pastry, I don't have a way to do some of those things. That's the cool thing about pot pie fillings. It can go over biscuits. It can go in a bowl with a biscuit on top. You can do a crust. Our filling also allows you to recook this. So we can make this, cool it, and then put it in between 2 crusts and do an actual real pot pie that has a top and a bottom. You do want to cool it, because if you add this straight from the pot, it's going to mess up your dough. It's going to start cooking and you'll never get it right. It won't be flaky. So that's the only reason we're cooling it. Not for anything of our purposes, more for the purposes of what you're cooking it with. So if you look, that'll thicken up, and we should have a pot pie that looks a lot like what you just tasted. Now I'm going to jump over here, and we're going to take this same product and we're going to turn it into a cheese sauce. So here soon you're going to get some mac and cheese brought over from the table. So we made our own cheese sauce and just put it over medium shell pasta. The cool thing with cheese sauces, sorry, I keep looking up and down. My guy back here, I got to give a shout out to the sound guy because he keeps taking care of me. I told him I'd be up and down. The key to the cheese sauce is there's so many on the market. You can buy whatever cheese sauce you want. Again, we want to show you a way to speed scratch to turn your stuff into you. So by making your own cheese sauce, now you control the flavor of the cheese, what you're doing. You can do a queso one day, and you can turn around and you can do a white cheddar and Monterey Jack mac and cheese the next day. And that's what we're showing you today is the white cheddar mac and cheese. This is going to be a little bit different. If you saw before I cooked the chicken, this time I'm going to add the water straight to the pan, and we're going to let that water get hot. And this cheese sauce, here's the mac and cheese. So this cheese sauce comes with a few things. I'm gonna give you my secret. So when we're making cheese sauce, when we get the water hot, it's not quite boiling yet, so we're gonna get that mixed in. And one of the advantages to our soup base, a lot of the other products on the market right now, they're advertising this wonderful thing called Insta-Thick. So all of the other competitive products are getting instantly thick. So right now when this water's hot, when you're adding their product, it starts thickening. You start seeing lumps. So now when you try to melt a cheese into it or you start adding other ingredients to it, it doesn't work out well. You see even more lumps. So ours, if you notice, I'm mixing in with hot water. It's not boiling yet and it's not thick yet. The purpose for that is now I can turn around and start grabbing my stuff and start putting it into the pot, because we're building this pot. So then by the time I'm done mixing everything in, now my sauce has thickened, the cream soup base mix is thickened. So put phones away and no notes, but here's the secret ingredient. Anytime you're doing something with cheese or milk, nutmeg. You don't want to add a lot. It's about a quarter teaspoon to a gallon. So hopefully I didn't go too crazy here. But you can add that right to our cheese sauce before we melt the cheese. And now that that's in there, we're going to start adding the cheese. What nutmeg does, when you add it to cheese and milk, it doesn't give you a pumpkin pie. It makes your cheese just a little bit cheesier. So the creaminess you're getting from that is a combination of both our cream soup base mix and the nutmeg that's mixed into it. So we want to slowly add this cheese. Oops, that so much for slowly. When we're making these sauces, 1 bag of cream soup base is supposed to be mixed with 1 gallon of water. Obviously, I broke this down, so we're doing 1 quart sizes in these small pans. But when you're making a cheese sauce, if you're using shredded cheese like I did, I go a little bit heavier on the water. And that's because shredded cheese has cornstarch in it, so it's going to get really thick. So if you see here, compared to that, we're starting, and we haven't even boiled yet, but we're starting to get pretty thick. And that's because the shredded cheese on the, the cornstarch on the shredded cheese. All right, and then you see that's starting to come to a boil. We're starting to get pretty thick. I'm gonna crank that down just a hair. And there you go. What'd you think of the mac and cheese? Did we like it? Excellent. All right, so I'm gonna shut this off. We got one last dish for you. And then later, I'm gonna do our Marsala wine sauce using this cream sauce. So make sure, even though you saw this presentation now, come back for the afternoon, there'll be another one. So, for this last dish, what we're gonna do is we're gonna utilize, see, I'm gonna burn this one up. Let me use this one. We're gonna do our hollandaise mix. Oops. I put it to the side. So this one's gonna be our hollandaise mix. However, instead of going straight into hollandaise, we're gonna make it béarnaise and we're gonna put it over a steak. So I'm gonna show you how to turn our hollandaise mix. You can utilize it as hollandaise or you can utilize it as béarnaise. So the way we're gonna do that is we're gonna start with a little bit of white wine vinegar. We're gonna add some dried tarragon. And we're gonna let this cook down to basically nothing. So you see, I think I can't see the cameras, but you guys can. There's a little bit of liquid boiling in there. We're hydrating the dried tarragon so we can get that ready. And right when that becomes nothing, we're gonna add our butter and we're gonna let it melt. So see how we get that just to kind of a syrup. There's no more real liquid, but we don't want it to dry out. We don't want to burn up that tarragon. So now I'm gonna put my butter in here and we're gonna melt our butter. I'm gonna lower the heat just a hair. And if you see, if you don't let that dry, that tarragon looks more like a fresh herb in the bottom, but it blends in really well with the butter. So that's why you start that in the pan first. A lot of people will tell you to do it on a side, just do it in a little skillet while you're making your hollandaise. With our product and with most recipes, I would prefer you do it this way. You're gonna get just a little bit more flavor into your butter that we're using. So here's the biggest key with our hollandaise. When you read the directions, it tells you that you got to take it off the heat, let it cool down for a bit. And everybody always tells me your directions are so difficult. Directions aren't difficult. Once the butter's melted, see how it's no longer boiling? That's all we're looking for. So you don't have to cool this down. You don't go to the refrigerator. You just don't want your butter boiling when you mix in the powder. When we mix in this powder, if it's boiling, that's when it'll start separating. So the biggest key about this is we want to mix this powder in about like that. So see how there's no lumps, there's no oil sitting on top. We got that one guy that just doesn't want to break up. And then what we're going to do is while the heat's off, we're going to add our milk. You're going to have to trust me on the measurements here. So then we're going to add our cold milk. Now once this is in there, now we turn our heat back on. We want it on about medium, but now we bring this to a boil. So when we say take off heat and cool, we don't mean that you have to like stop, come back in 15 minutes. You stop for a second, you grab the other ingredients. We just don't want it sitting on the fire. When it's sitting on the fire, like I said, the butter in that powder becomes a glue, and it doesn't want to mix in with the milk. So once the milk's in, we turn it up. We're gonna bring this to a boil. I think, did he give you the steak? What did we think of the béarnaise? So all of our ingredients, I'm gonna finish up while this is coming to a boil. I'm gonna give you a rundown of all of our ingredients. The biggest thing, if you see that our motto is the chef's base. Everything we make for you is designed for you to adjust, make it your way, add flavor to it, and make it simple. But we wanna give you all these dishes so that you're not needing 17 people in the kitchen. You're able to do this one or two people, you're able to do some prep. So that's why we're calling it speed scratch, but we're giving you the flavor. But everything we serve you, or we provide for you, we want you to modify it. We want you to turn it into yours. We want you to be a chef. So I would rather sell this hollandaise, if there's a row of 10 restaurants, I get guys that say, why make it myself? I have the best hollandaise on the street. Perfect. What I'd rather do is sell this to the other 9 and have 9 different variations out there. And then we could say we have the 9 best out there because nobody knows that you're using ours. That's the idea behind it, is we want to give you the starter, we want to give you the simpleness, but we want you to impart your flavor into this and be different than all the other restaurants. And in today's world with labor, I'm gonna turn this up just to get this to a boil. In today's world with labor, you gotta have something that separates you. So providing better ingredients and better stuff, but simply made, is gonna get you there. If you're trying to cut corners and save money so you can afford more labor, that's gonna be hard. So we'd rather you have better ingredients and we can work our way around the labor part. Cool, so this came to a boil. We don't want it to boil hard. We just kind of want those edges. You see it's nice and thick, and that's kind of what you guys got out there. All right, well, I appreciate it. Like I said, come back at, I think I'm on at 1:45. I'm gonna do Marsala wine sauce with the cream soup base. We're gonna do the cheese sauce again, and then I'm gonna show the hollandaise again. So stop back, but I do have different on the Marsala wine. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.